Welcome, everyone, to the very first live stream on the Pink Caddy Coach YouTube channel. I don't believe I've gone live before here, so it's good to see all of you. And please join the chat. Hello, Crystal. Those of you that are coming in, let me know who you are. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of interaction time in the chat box. I'm just gonna talk about our topic for this particular video is resurrecting your team. So resurrecting your team is, I would say, it's probably the most commonly asked question that we get. Some form of, how do we get people to do blank? How do we get them to attend meetings? How do we get them to place orders? How do we get them to do what they say they're going to do? How do we get them to stay connected? How do we get them to answer phones? How do we get people to do whatever, right? And this idea of resurrecting your team is obviously a big one towards the end of the year, like we are right now, towards the end of any time period that has like a goal attached to it, whether it's the end of the month or the end of a quarter or getting out of DIQ or whatever the case is for you. And so this is a very, very common issue. And I've got some clear suggestions and very clear beliefs about it based on what I've experienced over 15 years of being a life coach who is familiar with Mary Kay. So I want to be very clear about that distinction. So my stories, my beliefs, all of this is based on truth that I personally and we as a team have experienced. So I am a reporter here and I'm sharing with you what I know in terms of getting into people's minds and asking them questions and figuring out why they do certain things and why they don't do certain things. So the first discussion point here is, as it relates to resurrecting your team, is you shouldn't be resurrecting your team. I mean, what do you do? Like, what needs to be resurrected? Dead things. And I get it. I get the question. I understand it's reality, and I understand we're not literally saying that these people are dead. But just the connotation of resurrecting people has an energy to it. And there's a frustration built into it. There's judgment built into it. The first judgment is these people are not doing things. Therefore, how do we get them to do things? And whether you're conscious of it or not, it's at play, I promise you, at an unconscious level. So the idea of just waiting for the dead to be resurrected, waiting for the people that are not taking action to all of a sudden take action, waiting for the answers of what you need to do in order to revive them is a dangerous game. So I'm not saying you just let them go. I'm not saying you don't ever talk to them anymore. I'm not saying you don't send them texts. I'm not saying you take them off your email list or your Voxer group. I'm not saying that you ignore them. I'm just saying that you can plant the seeds for them, but don't wait on them. Don't put all of your energy toward the people or anything that you're trying to revive, because that sort of energy isn't healthy for you. And the thing that you really got to understand is that it kills your duplication, at least the kind of duplication that you want. See, everything that you do in your business gets duplicated. We think that duplication only means the good stuff. Duplication is when people are recruiting and selling and doing the things that you're doing and putting in motion, but everything you're doing gets duplicated. So if you're watering things, whatever the things are, the people or the momentum or the habits or the unit meetings or whatever it is, if you're watering the things and then standing over them, waiting for them to grow, that gets duplicated also. And the people that come into your team are going to duplicate that same, let's turn around, water things and wait for them to grow kind of energy. And I've heard so many analogies and so many phrases in the Mary Kay world that I totally agree with. Like, you can't follow a parked car, and the speed of the leader is the speed of the group. My experience is a lot of people don't understand how toxic of an energy it is when you're going forward for a certain amount of time and then you turn around and focus backward. You focus on the team to now do your, the stuff that you want them to do. Or when you stop doing the stuff you don't want to do anymore and you want other people to do their stuff, that is a very toxic energy. It's not expansion. It's actually contraction. Because if you think about it, now you're focused backwards on your team instead of continuing to focus forward. Now, the reason that most people do this is because that's safer. These people are already on your team. It's safer to go back and try to revive the people that you already have a relationship with, because that's not where your biggest fears are. That's where a lot of your frustrations are. And let me know if this is landing for you. I think this distinction I'm about to make here is really critical for you to understand, because I'm all about identifying what the actual problem is, and then let's solve the problem, not just wrestle with the surface level symptoms, right? So this distinction is critical. If I can remember what the distinction is, it just went away from me for a second. It'll come back. The distinction, I'm just going to talk and it's going to come to me. The distinction is the trying to revive your team is frustrating, but trying to build your team is scary. That's a good one. So your fears of rejection and failure and being pushy and all of those kinds of interpersonal fears are specific to you talking to new people, to you getting numbers that end up not being good, calling people over and over and over again and feeling like you're wasting your time. Those are where your fears are. This is where your frustrations are. You're not afraid of people rejecting you that are on your team. You're just frustrated when they stop coming to the meetings. You're frustrated when they stop answering your phone calls. You're frustrated when they seem to be disengaged. So the distinction between frustration and fears are critical. The frustrations are tied to the past. The fears are tied to the future. So it's easy for us to turn around and avoid the fears of the future. And we don't realize that what we're doing is now we're actually engaging more in the frustrations of the past. And I did a training yesterday in our Pink Caddy coaching group that you can go back and listen to for those of you that are in the group. And Michelle, if you wouldn't mind putting a link to the Facebook group, if you're not in the Pink Caddy coaching Facebook group, go there and watch it. It's called Finishing Your Year Strong. And we've got to, one of the big things that I touched on and something that landed really well for a lot of people is we've got to disconnect from our past. So when we focus on the past, we're not just engaging the frustrations with our team, but we're actually engaging with all of our past frustrations with ourselves related to and attached to our past. But the intellect says that's better than confronting the fears that are related to our future. So that's why it's easy for us to do that. But it's not helpful. And I would say it's actually more dangerous to continue focusing and attaching on the past than it is to confront the future. So what you can do from a personal awareness standpoint is just check in with yourself and recognize why you're drawn to the things that you're drawn to. Now, I'm not saying everybody does this. There may be a few of you that actually are a lot more inclined to go after new people and totally disengage from your team. That's a different kind of a problem. That's still a problem. It's just a different kind of problem. That's less common than the one I'm talking about, but that's also problematic. So either end of the spectrum. is going to be problematic. And understand this is not an either or conversation. So it's not, do you focus on your current team or do you build a new team? It's both. The distinction is, where is your energy? Where are you really putting your attachment? So again, there's nothing wrong with focusing on your team, but don't be waiting on them. You can plant the seeds, but you got to keep moving. And that's the kind of energy that's actually more attractive to your team. When you're focused on just reviving and resurrecting what's not really working, that kind of energy is desperation. And that's not exciting to you, nor is it exciting to them. And desperation energy creates a desperation magnet that only attracts desperate people. So the people that you're looking for on your team are not going to be attracted to that desperation sort of, let's revive what's not working or who's not working kind of energy. So continue to plant the seeds, but they got to know this train is continuing to move going forward. And that's what's really going to keep you going. You know what's hitting me right now? It's not about reviving the team. It's about reviving you. It's about resurrecting what's dead inside of you. It's about re-engaging the excitement, the passion. There's a reason that you said yes to this opportunity once upon a time. And if you're frustrated by everything that hasn't worked and all the people that aren't doing things and all the customers that are not reordering and the goals that you haven't gotten, you are not touching in that moment the reason you said yes. You're not hitting that passion button. You're not getting up out of bed with the same beginner's mind and the same excitement and the same focus forward as you had in the moment where you signed your agreement. That's what needs to be resurrected inside of you. It's the passion that then is going to fix the challenge. And it doesn't mean that you getting more passionate about your business is going to resurrect anybody that's dead on your team, but it means you're going to keep going forward. And it means you're going to attract the people that aren't even on your team right now. That's a better solution. That's why they say it's better to give birth than resurrect the dead. This is why it's more of an expansion, focus forward, exciting, hope-filled energy for you as the leader, rather than looking at all the dead flowers in the garden going, how can I revive these flowers? When you focus forward, a lot of those flowers will revive themselves because your hope and your energy and your excitement, genuine excitement, is going to be attractive to them. That's the best way to resurrect the dead. Now, the second piece here is when it comes to reviving the people on your team, you have to understand what excites a human. What gets people to move? What gets people to get back up when life has knocked them down? We got to understand the drivers of humanity. And there are two different kinds of drivers. There are intrinsic drivers and there are extrinsic drivers. Intrinsic drivers are everything internal. They are not tangible. This is happiness and pride and joy and hope and peace. Those are the intrinsic drivers that everybody is after. However, very few people are talking about those because the intellect is controlling the focus on all the external stuff. The external stuff is the money. In Mary Kay, it's the cars. It's the rise up the ladder. It's the becoming of the red jacket, and then DIQ, and then director, and then all the way up through to national. That's what the intellect is wanting. And this is not a Mary Kay problem. This is the way the brain works. The intellect is focused on extrinsic measures. The problem is extrinsic measures only fuel the intellect, which does not fuel the body. It does not fuel the spirit. The intellect only fuels the mind. What we need to do is ignite people from inside. My whole philosophy when it comes to coaching people in life is igniting the human from within, not motivating the mind from without and focused on the things that we don't have. That's the way society tends to motivate us, is we're focused on the things that we don't have, and then we're chasing the things to fill voids. That's not clean inspiration from inside. So the thing is, if people are not engaged, it's because the flame inside of them has been put out, at least as it relates to and is attached to Mary Kay. Your job as a leader is not to try to motivate them extrinsically. It's to try to ignite that flame inside of them intrinsically. And what you've got to understand is that your goals are intrinsic to you, but extrinsic to them. And yes, there is a concept that I believe in to an extent, that is, people like to be part of a winning team. People like to contribute to a team that achieves the goals, that achieves Cadillac or becomes a directing, a unit. They like to be a part of a team, but that is not the intrinsic core motivation. They like that. It's like the icing on the cake. They like to be a part of a team, but that's not powerful enough inside to overcome their fears, because the reasons they're no longer engaged in Mary Kay are intrinsic ones. So if the reasons they're no longer engaged are intrinsic, the motivation that comes from extrinsic sources cannot overpower the intrinsic fears, the intrinsic obstacles. So the bottom line is, you're not going to be able to motivate them with anything outside of them as powerfully as you are going to be able to ignite the inspiration from inside of them. Now, what does that actually look like in a practical sense? That looks like finding out why they joined Mary Kay in the first place and asking them if they're still committed to those goals. Are they still committed to retiring their husband? Are they still committed to providing an education fund for their children? Are they still committed to quitting their own job? Are they still committed to providing financial security for their family or financial freedom so they can get the house, so they can go on vacations? But why do they want those things? It's not the things that provide the motivation. It's how they feel when they think about getting those things that provides the motivation. That's the intrinsic source. So if you come to them and you say, hey, what about you engaging in Mary Kay again because we have a Cadillac to earn? They don't really care about that. Would they prefer that you win your Cadillac? Yes. Would they prefer that they contribute to it? Yes. But that's not what drives them. Now, this is not theory. This is being on the phone with hundreds of consultants who tell us these things. So, what's more important to them than your win is their win. If they have a chance to win and they feel like they're winning, then your winning is important on top of their win. But your win is not important in replacement of their win. That's the key distinction here. So the answer to the question, how do you resurrect your team, is really, how do you re-inspire a human? How do you reignite the flame inside of somebody's humanity that has gone out? And the way you do it is within their humanity. It's within their emotions. It's inside their heart, not inside their head. And when you talk about tangible goals, whether it's their goals or your goals or anything that appeals to their mind, I need you to understand their mind is not why they stopped. Therefore, their mind is not going to be the thing that restarts them. it's their heart, it's their emotion, it's their internal obstacles. So you've got to find an internal fuel that overpowers the internal obstacles. And then what you're doing is you're diving into their heart, and the fuel of the heart is desire. The fuel of the head is necessity. The heart wants things. The head needs things. And the power of wanting is so much bigger than the power of needing. The fuel of the intellect cannot hold a candle to the fuel of the heart. So what you want to do is dive into the area of their spirit, of their heart, of their soul that reignites what they want. And then what Mary Kay can help them achieve from their wanting, not what Mary Kay can help them achieve from their needing. That's how you resurrect a team. I haven't been watching any of the comments. So if you have something that you want me to address, please go ahead and type it in here and I will address it at another time. If you're in our Pink Caddy Coaching Facebook group, go ahead and tag me in there, or you can respond and send me an email. Just get a hold of me in any way. If you want to comment on this, if you want to disagree with any of it, I don't have any problem listening to other people's perspectives. And everything that I've said, everything that I ever say, I will never position this as the right thing for all humans, just the way that most humans work based on 15 years of experience. If you're listening to this live or soon after we record this, we've got a webinar coming up called How to Sell and Recruit in Your Mary Kay Business in 2019 and Beyond. So talk about the frustrations of other people. One of the biggest frustrations that we hear all the time is that people are not engaged anymore. They don't answer their phones. They don't call me back. They're just focused on Snapchatting and Instagram, and I just can't get people to commit anymore. The world has shifted. We're going to break down what it takes to succeed going forward in this society, and specifically in Mary Kay. How do you recruit and sell in a hyper-distracted, hyper-overwhelmed world? And if the webinar has already passed by the time that you hear this, there will be a replay somewhere and we'll be able to get that link to you. So hopefully this has been valuable. If it has, let me know what's really landed for you. And I want to celebrate your success. If you have any questions, please let us know. If you want an individualized consultation, then email me, Sean at pinkcaddycoach.com, SEAN at pinkcaddycoach.com, or drop a comment here or respond to any of the emails that you see from us. And we'll get you in front of somebody that can dive into your unique situations and help you identify what the obstacles are specifically for you, not a general one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach, because that's not what releases people and fuels individual people going forward. So again, I hope this has been valuable. I wish you all the best. Those of you that are watching this live, or those of you that are watching the replay soon, I hope you really recommit, refocus, and realign yourself towards the end of this year and finish this year really strong so that you can start the next year stronger. And even if you're not watching this at the end of the seminar year in 2019, that applies to any time period of your goals or on the calendar. So I wish you all well. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk to you all soon. Take care, everybody.